Hello, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to the Philippine Star Property Report's first in a series of webinars to look at the state of real estate today. Our web series is called Moving Forward because after 3 months of quarantine, we all need to get used to the new normal. Before introducing our expert panelists, we'd like to thank our sponsors and partners, Avida Land and Golden Bay Land Holdings. And plus, for our viewers today, you get a chance to win an Ayala Malls EGC worth 2,000 when you scan the QR code that we will be flashing in 20 minutes, which will lead you to a link where you can answer some questions. So let's get the exciting topic rolling. Let me introduce our wonderful panelists. I'm so happy to have with us today Paulo Alcazaren, the principal architect and designer of PGAA Creative Design, Planning and Urban Design Consultants. Paulo is also a columnist for the Philippine Star. He's an author, an urban planner, and he was an architecture professor at the University of the Philippines and a magazine editor. Good morning, Paulo.
Morning, Tanya. Thank you for the invitation.
Yes. Next, we have Jardine Wong, the very young and dynamic Chief Executive Officer of Golden Bay Land Holdings. Jardine is at the helm of developments like Garden City in Alabang Zabote, correct? In Las Piñas. Yes, and I've sat down with Jardine before and I'm very impressed with his ideas, what he wants to do with real estate, where he wants to take his company. And he's a mix of a sharp businessman and an idealist, which I think is great. Good morning, Jardine.
Good morning, Ms. Tanya. Thank you for the kind words. Good morning to everyone, our viewers, and to all the panelists. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And of course, we have Roy Goles, the Director of Research and Consultancy of Lichu Property Consultants. Roy and I have worked on stories before, and it's always fun interviewing him. We did a story before on how to make money from 12 square meters, which is a parking slot, really. And it's always fun to talk to him about real estate. Good morning, Roy. Okay, so gentlemen, the coronavirus crisis. I'm still in shock at how it has changed the world. Let's start with a general question before we get into more specific things. Let's start with Paulo. Paulo, how did coronavirus change our city, real estate, and design, and the way we live, basically?
Well, essentially, real estate will never be the same after this pandemic. Our lives will have to change, and with it, so too where we live, work, worship, and play. Since 6 out of 10 Filipinos are urban, we will need to transform our towns and cities to ensure that we survive, as well
Mhm.
as to sustain a quality of life we all deserve. The last few months in quarantine have made a number of concerns clear in relation to urban planning and design, which is my area of specialty. These are one, health, the location, number, and configuration of clinics and hospitals. Number two, access to open green space for recreation, amenity, and functionality, because we need these open spaces also as triage areas, not only for this
Right.
pandemic, but for other uh, requirements. Number three, access to food and essential supplies. Number four, land use, which is how best to locate residential, commercial, or mixed uses. And related to this, number five, transport and communication, how we can get to where we want and need to go efficiently and safely, as well as how we can keep in touch with each other if we cannot safely do it face to face. In terms of architecture and the allied design professions of interior design and landscape architecture, the impact will be the retrofitting of older structures uh, to fit the new normal, and the emergence of new types of housing, office, and mixed use developments that incorporate sustainability, along with spaces that can be called into play in the event of future scenarios to minimize risk, protect people, and ensure functionality at the optimum cost.
Mhm.
Tanya?
Um, yeah, Roy, as a property consultant, you deal with both developers and clients, buyers, lessees, and people like Jardine, basically. Let's talk about the confidence in the market. Is it wise to invest in real estate now, or itago muna yung pera natin sa kama, sa ilalim ng kama? Yes. I don't know if Roy is online. Yes.
Tanya, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. So anyway, the question um, is it wise to invest now during a pandemic, or should we hold on to our money?
Okay. If the plan has been always to buy real estate, there's no reason to stop the investment. I would, however, advise that you proceed with caution. Normally, my advice to potential buyers would be to, especially now, to have
Mm-hmm.
a 6 to 1 year emergency fund first, to fill that up, to fill a fund before investing into anything.
Okay.
With regards to the shock in the market, with a confidence shock, what we saw was that big developers have reduced capex, delayed launches, and halted new projects.
Right.
Uh, the buyers at the same time have also held off any payments. So actually, we are seeing high levels of cash deposits in our banking system.
Mm-hmm.
But however, we are already seeing signs of recovery. So in the BPO sector, we're seeing growth there, although at a slower pace. And some residential developers are actually experiencing sales uh, of their development unit, of their residential units.
Right. Okay. And Jardine, I keep hearing from CEOs that real estate is the most stable form of investment.
Yes. Yes,
What
it
is your take? What is your take on this? Because this pandemic is unprecedented, like everybody's saying. Everything has stopped.
Yeah. First of all, pleasant morning to everyone again. Let me share to you three key insights about property. First would be its historical significance. Second would be how the recent health crisis highlighted the importance of investing in property. And third would be, just like Roy was saying, how everyone should tread with caution. No? So first would be, we ask ourselves why investing in property matters. Well, the pandemic really has brought about many uncertainties, no doubt about it. But uh, basic microeconomics principles still point out that there are clear advantages of investing in property. So, amidst the global market shocks and market stagnation and the economic lockdowns around the world, I believe, or we believe, in the real estate sector that it is resilient enough to give good returns for the investing public. Studies have long ranked property as the third safest investment, next only to gold and certificates of deposit. Foremost among the reasons why it is the gold standard, it's because first, it's a highly tangible investment, so people can see and feel property. Second would be the legacy aspect. These assets can be handed down from one generation to another. Third would be value generation. So over time, real estate tend to increase in value exponentially, while in comparison, actual money contract due to a plethora of reasons like supply and demand, inflation, fiscal pressure. So how did the pandemic highlighted the importance of investing in property prices? Uh, First would be the recent pandemic allowed many of us to realize that having your own home during a pandemic provides that extra safety. I'm sure everyone can agree to that.
Yeah.
It's a classic adage that says that your home is your sanctuary. So another practical application would be real estate in the time of pandemic unlocked economic leverage. So real estate assets provided a lifeline of support to dwindling income streams and aid to cash wrap balance sheets of various businesses and individuals during the pandemic. Consumers leverage these tangible assets as collateral to secure much needed funding during emergencies like this. So, but however, moving forward, we in Golden Bay Land think that the greatest challenge that lies ahead would be developers facing this new normal with the sincere adaptations of the rigors and demands brought about by the new normal. So we need to adapt to market conditions and try our best to bridge impending gaps between market trajectory and consumer appetite. At present, for us, we are reviewing and revamping projects under design development and construction stages to make sure that all of our upcoming portfolio projects is or are reinforced to fit future requirements. So basically, the pandemic highlighted the importance of investing early in property. Yeah.
Okay. You know, we're running a story on Friday that says before the pandemic, 45% of people to looking to buy a condominium were exclusively looking at condos. After the lockdown, 90% of those looking for condominiums were now open to buying homes. Paulo, do you think the way cities are being planned have changed? Do you think what is the effect of the pandemic on mayors, especially when they're zoning their cities? Yeah.
Yes, for one thing, all of the mayors of the 1,500 towns and 145 cities in the Philippines are going to have to review their comprehensive land use plans. Now, as to
Right.
that very interesting statistic that you just said about 90% of condo buyers now thinking about homes, is essentially because of the realization that homes are give you a factor of safety that condos in city centers don't, in terms of only mostly the pandemic. Now, it doesn't mean that condo developers and architects and designers aren't thinking about how the new normal would shape future condos. In fact, all of the
Mhm.
developers I know who are into uh, high-rise or multi-level condominiums are looking at how to change the frame for design that to incorporate maybe lower condos, you'll find that the lower floors, which didn't used to be high value, will now be higher value in a lot of condos because it allows you to get down just by using the stairs. Of course, you could retrofit or design new condos with larger elevators or tandem elevators to be able to be more efficient. But going back to the trend, you'll find that townships will be increasing in attractiveness because of the safety factor that they provide. Um, of course, homes are small, but the other factor in developments, people are going to look for not just plain subdivisions, but townships where you have your individual homes or maybe even townhomes, but have
Right.
access to convenience centers or town centers that will provide all of the basic necessities of food and services that everyone has found essential in this pandemic time. So those are the directions that planning and housing types will take, and the mayors will look at this also in terms of how to adjust their comprehensive land use plans. It doesn't mean that we still don't try and make our cities more efficient. And the efficiency also comes aside from land use is transportation. And there should be, and a lot of cities are now refocusing on alternative modes of transport, which looks at bike lanes and of course providing pedestrian connectivity. It still stands the reason that we should retrofit our urban centers to make it more walkable, bikeable. But the other direction would be that expansions of cities into suburban and semi-rural areas may continue because of the attractiveness of the single detached dwelling.
Yeah.
Tanya?
Yeah, we've seen how cities perform during the community quarantine. Paulo, which do you think city performed best?
Well, it's not apples to apples when you look at metropolitan areas like Manila, which has 17 LGUs, or Cebu and Davao, which has anywhere from five to I believe 7 or 8 LGUs. Uh, if you just look at the stats, of course, the secondary cities like Iloilo, Bacolod, Naga, the 1 million or sub 1 million population cities have done better to cope with the
Right.
pandemic. And you'll find that the cities that have addressed the issues of social housing or informal settlements with proper relocation or the provision of affordable housing are the ones that have been able to contain the vectors of disease. And in the future, all cities will see that this will be direction. We must look at the problem of social housing or providing housing, affordable housing for everyone, so that our human settlements or our settlements and our districts will not be filled with informal places where the vectors of disease are can just run rampant. Uh, these are the conditions of future growth. Tanya?
Okay. Yeah, Jardine, I'm curious with this pandemic and how people were sheltered at home for 3 months. Are you rethinking your design?
Oh,
Are you?
definitely. Yeah, definitely. We're immediately after the lockdown, when we felt that we needed to change and adapt to the different triggers that this pandemic brought out. We immediately instituted a work from home scheme with specifically with our engineering department, and we've worked very closely with our architects, designers to improve the offering of lifestyle that we kind of project in our projects. So for Garden City, we kind of adjusted more than 25% of the existing layout. So just like
Okay.
what architect Paolo was saying a while ago, we need projects to be kind of like a live work play setting where people can to around 40% of their projected workload. So part of that would be to, in addition to having a retail concept, is to add a clinic, to add a supermarket where people can buy their goods and stuff, so that when a
Yeah.
pandemic or a catastrophe strikes, they'll be closer to what they need. No, so
But
yeah.
what about the units themselves? Lalagyan nyo ba ng balconies?
Right now, yeah. Actually, the plan was from the onset, we will have balconies all over. Like every unit will have balconies to provide that fresh air for all the tenants. But we're thinking right now to add another balcony for the bigger units. So this is for Garden City, our latest project. So we're adapting quite well, I think, with the different triggers and demands of the new normal, and we'd like to promote a balance and well thought of lifestyle that Architect Paolo was saying a while ago. So I think people do need that, and the realization that they need to take care of their health at this onset is really a moving factor towards the future.
Yeah. Because
Yes,
during the
Tanya,
quarantine, yeah. Go ahead,
if I
Paolo.
may, Tanya, I'm glad you brought up balconies because my friends in the allied professions of interior design and architecture and my fellow landscape architects are pushing for balconies in units, because even if you have just a 2 square meter
Yeah.
balcony, it's enough space
Yes.
for you to get fresh air, as well as even grow your some of your own requirements in terms of food. We just
Exactly.
conducted a competition for amongst landscape architects for the design of a 1 square meter
Ah,
home garden, and you should see the results. The other thing that interior designers are looking at is the provision of vestibules or transition from the outside to the in, where you can sanitize and act as a buffer between the inner living areas. And so I understand that a lot of developers are looking at these types of additions or retrofits of existing floor layouts, which
Yeah.
also
yeah.
would lead to new housing types. Yes,
Hmm.
thank you.
Because I realized during the lockdown, I have a lot of friends living in condominiums,
Yep.
and some of them are complaining about how claustrophobic it is, but not the ones with balconies.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. So,
Actually,
yeah.
if you look at other Asian countries like Singapore, Hong Kong, Taiwan, even China, I think most of the new developments now offer balconies. So that's a trend
Right.
right now, even before the pandemic struck. So I think that's a good way to move forward. It means that we're finally prioritizing the health of our
Yeah.
consumers. So as developers, we need to really think positively towards green living. So that's the whole
Right.
concept behind our new project, Garden City. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about land prices. Roy, one of the things I am always shocked by are the prices of land in Metro Manila. Forbes Park reaches 1 billion pesos. I just saw an ad on Instagram for an Ayala Alabang house. It was 150 million pesos. I mean, 20 years ago, 150 million will get you in Forbes Park. Now you're in Ayala Alabang. So, and I've read reports that say uh, prices will decrease by 10% in Makati CBD and BGC by the fourth quarter of the year. What's your take on this?
Hi, Tanya.
Yeah.
Um, so the lack of supply, basically, it's a scarcity issue. There are only a few thousand lots in Metro Manila in high-end subdivisions. So
Okay.
we see the pricing to hold. Uh,
Okay.
it is normally seen as a store of value
Mm-hmm.
for the high-end market. Um,
Okay.
unless we see distressed sales in the next 2 to 3 months, we don't see any decline in prices yet.
No, no decrease.
No decrease. What we're
Okay.
seeing actually are the lots that are not prime locations, that are maybe discounted, but not yet. We don't see any decrease.
So we still cannot afford Forbes Park at 1 billion. But historically, what makes the prices fluctuate?
Okay, so you're seeing the Asian financial crisis, and then you're seeing the global financial crisis. During the 97, 98, we saw some, I think, 33% drop in some of the price of the lots in
Mm-hmm.
uh, Forbes Park and in the high-end subdivisions. And then the global financial crisis, we only saw about a 14% drop. But this won't likely happen because the Philippines now is, I think, in the best position economically uh, to face this crisis.
Really?
Yeah, according to the Department of Finance, we
Yeah.
have substantial deposits, and that the banking system can support our loans. Yeah.
Right.
In all likelihood, should there be any effects, it will be likely probably first quarter of 2021.
Oh, okay. Okay. But
Yeah.
more than 10% or around that price?
There might be higher, but then I do not classify distressed sales as a fair market value. So,
Okay.
so one or two probably because they need the money for their businesses.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't think these owners would need the cash today,
Yeah.
especially now when the expectation of buyers is a COVID discount, while
Yeah.
the sellers are looking at pre-COVID prices. So they were
Okay.
a meeting of the minds here.
Jardine,
Yes.
are you giving COVID discounts for your
Actually,
property?
yeah, for our first project for Aspire, because we're located here in the Bay Area.
Mm-hmm.
We kinda adjusted a little bit the prices, but we are leaning more towards giving them extra flexibility in terms of payments. So
Ah, okay.
that's the first thing that our buyers are asking, because like Roy was saying, I think they're like discussing first right now on hand the issue for the next 2 to 3 months on whether
Yeah.
they have really cash on hand or how's the balance sheets going through right now.
Right.
So I think market confidence still there, basically because the government stepped in quite early. So you see the BSP injecting almost 1.1 trillion pesos from the start of the pandemic down to the first week of June. They also lowered down the benchmark lending rates, which is a big factor in banking. So now it's only 2.75. So that's designed also to increase market confidence. Plus, they also lowered down the reserve ratio of banks. So banks now have more liquidity to instill or to provide that gap in the shortcomings of the market until the market bounces back. So, just like what Roy was saying, we expect the bounce back of the market around end of fourth quarter this year, fourth quarter this year, or maybe first quarter of 2021.
Right.
Uh, the Philippines is well positioned to bounce back from this pandemic because of the liquidity in the market. Plus, regarding the question about a while ago about the prices here in Manila, I think it's when you compare it to other mega cities in Asia, it's still grossly undervalued. So, like for example, Bangkok right now enjoys a higher price per square meter for high end real estate like property or office spaces. So that's like what Roy was saying. It's like a meeting of the mind sometimes, no.
Mm-hmm.
So we view our customers as partners also in our business. So if we can try to help them by extending a little bit of leeway to them, we'll do it.
Yeah.
So that we can contribute to the market confidence back in the market.
But when you say prices in Metro Manila are undervalued, but to me it seems like they're undervalued only to foreign investors.
Yep.
People keep comparing it to, buy in Metro Manila, it's lower than Hong Kong and Singapore, but lower for whom? Not
As
for
a,
the
as a
locals.
general trajectory, as a general piece of information. But
Okay.
regarding the propensity of the consumers to consume, then of course you have different levels. That's why you see a lot of developers branching into mid-income, lower-income
Yeah,
division. Yes.
yeah. That's a bright spot
Yep.
for real estate development in Metro Manila. Paulo, you talked a while ago about this pandemic changing architecture. What is your hope? Do you think it's gonna give birth to a new breed of young architects?
Yes, the good thing with the new generations of architects and designers in the allied professions of planning, interior design, and landscape architecture is that now they're now more sensitive to the needs of first climate change and sustainability. But now, of course, we throw in the factor of pandemics, which may happen again. Hopefully not, but we should be more prepared. And this preparation can be achieved also in the physical fabric of our cities and the actual typologies of architecture or building types that will come about. You will see a lot of direction towards lower rise condominiums or townhouses because of access problems and densities. But densities is an issue that needs to be addressed, and it cannot be addressed unless you have a larger um, planning framework, which is provided by cities and metropolitan areas. The problem with Metro Manila is again the 17 local government units all have different tax and
Plans.
other
Yeah,
frameworks, and
yeah.
it's very difficult for developers, unlike developers in Hong Kong or Singapore, to adjust based on where they're located, and this affects the sellability of the units or the property products that developers. It would be ideal in a post COVID scenario for us to go and take a look at how we're governing our metropolitan region, especially Metro Manila, Metro Cebu, Metro Davao, Metro Baguio, and find another type of governance that can provide a better framework for smarter development for everyone.
Paula, when you were teaching architecture at UP, what was it about your students that impressed you?
Uh, well, not all of them impressed me. And but this was over 10 years ago. I think now the generations of students are getting better because they are more attuned. There was a phase where they all got a little babied by the fact that they could access information from the net, but it's not so much the access to information, but what you do with that information. The quality of our students are getting better. The Association of Colleges and Universities teaching architecture and the allied arts have gotten together to instill more social issues and sensibilities into the student projects, and you find a lot of collaborative work amongst different disciplines. What we lack, though, is that we need, even at the student level, to have collaborations with students, say, in economics and public administration and business, so that we can address the real world problems that, it's not just designing a nice building, but it's
Right.
finding out how to build it efficiently and how to sell it to a market that more often than not doesn't know exactly what they need. Well, that's where marketing comes in. I mean, you can market a refrigerator to an Eskimo, but he doesn't need that refrigerator. So we really need to heal as one and design as one, even in terms of our cities and our architecture. And the sooner we can get together and collaborate as one, then we will find those building types and the types of cities that we need and we look forward to.
Okay. Speaking of project,
That's my closing statement.
it's your midway statement.
Okay.
Speaking of projects, Jardine,
Yeah.
um, are we gonna see a delay in the turnover for all developments around the country because of the pandemic? And how are you gonna ease back into construction?
Well, definitely there will be will be a delay. For us in Aspire, we're about to turn over our project this end of July, but due to the pandemic, we got delayed. I think we're targeting now for September turnover.
Mhm.
In terms of product launching, we also delayed our product launching for Aspire, the actual product launching because of the COVID pandemic. So you'll see a lot of delays because of the lull for 2.5 months. And right
Right.
now, the LGUs are just getting back on their feet and going back to managing their own respective cities. So you're slowly starting to get all these workforce back to the system. So there will be slight delays in terms of the project turnover for this year. So that will affect supply and demand also. In terms of new product releases or new product opening or launching, I think we'll see a lot more or less of them because of the big players are downsizing their new products. They're concentrating on the inventory that they have now, as
Mhm.
I was saying a while ago. So for us, we saw the opportunity to just plan ahead and plan our next projects in-house while the pandemic was happening. So we're also quite bullish despite the pandemic. So pre pre pre-COVID, we acquired a lot of properties to support our long-term vision. So we believe that the real estate industry is very resilient, and once market demand and confidence gets back, then you'll see a lot of movement in the construction of buildings again. So it all depends
Okay.
on how fast market confidence can get back, and the government is the primary mover of this with the policies that they enact and the systems that they try to invoke upon the economy.
Okay. So we have
If I
some live.
may, Tanya,
Yeah, go ahead, please.
just a very about government. Of course, right before the lockdown, the new Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development
Yeah.
was just trying just starting to get on its feet because it's a new invention, a consolidation of various
Yep.
different departments and government that had to do with real estate and urban development.
Yeah.
So far, they've only acted on or reacted to the COVID and the post-COVID scenarios, now allowing for construction. We need to see a clear direction from this department as to how we're going to shape our settlements and address urban development that looks at sustainability and preparedness in the future. And I hope that now in getting back to work, the department will also work with private developers as well as the general public to find out exactly what is needed in terms of all of our human settlements and urban development. Tanya.
Yeah.
Good point.
Okay. So we have some live questions from Giselle Casilag. Will we see more work from home friendly developments and developments that would accommodate micro and small businesses?
All
Tanya,
depends on Wi-Fi connections.
Yeah, it's a
sorry.
big
Sorry.
factor. Big factor.
Yeah,
Actually, we
Tanya,
yeah.
can I
Roy,
comment
go
on
ahead.
that one? Thank you. Thank you. Yes, we're doing work from home now, but I think the three factors or four factors that will delay the adoption of work from home would be data security. There's lack of supervision at home. Number two would be power outages. Our company is assured that we will have consistent power. The third will be internet connection. Do we have enough speed and security for our connections? And I think lastly would be the distractions. Uh,
Yeah.
will our family members not bother us while we're working? Uh,
Yeah.
It's a matter of
But
discipline.
well,
yeah,
yeah.
what is an
Family
ideal work
members
from
and pets
home?
also. Sometimes pets also disturbs us.
I think pets are always welcome to
Yeah.
distract us. Paula, what is an ideal work from home environment? Is it open space or should you be in a room?
You can be in a room or even a corner of the room, so long as the distractions of pets and children and spouses, I guess, they need to know that you need to work, and so it's a matter of reconfiguring your interior spaces. And of course, one thing that you will find in as work from home progresses is a drop in sales of long pants, because now you don't need to wear long pants. You don't know what I'm wearing now, right? It could be my pajamas.
Yeah, but we wouldn't mind if you stood up and showed us.
No, no, no.
Okay,
Actually,
another.
I'm wearing pants. So I'm
Okay,
wearing
good
pants.
to know. Good to know. Another question from Dindi Suleiman. How is COVID-19 impacting the housing market and how long will recovery take? That's, can we say for sure? How long?
Uh, Roy, yeah.
The mortgage market will be impacted primarily because of two reasons: OFW remittances and unemployment. But we're
Mm-hmm.
probably going to start seeing the impact maybe end August, early September, or 3 to 6 months from the end of the GCQ, because that's the time
Okay.
the banks will start experiencing any delays in payment or monthly amortization. Um, it's something that we have to look out for when we start our residential projects.
Okay. Wait, let me go back to the construction. Jardine, paano pala yun? Yung mga workers. Um,
Yeah, for us, we implemented our own testing. So we required them to test, and we provided the in-house barracks for them. So we just finished the whole process yesterday. So we got back in our workable timetable for the construction just today. It's our first
mhm.
day. So we took every precaution, and there will be some adjustments,
Yeah.
like social distancing in the workplace. So we're working closely with our contractors and construction managers for that. And as long as there's the threat of the virus, definitely the pace of work in the construction sites would be different from what we are accustomed to. So we're
So
preparing for
fewer workers. Fewer workers.
fewer workers. So we're expecting to extend completion of projects as compared to what we projected before.
By how much time? Like a year?
Probably around 20, easily 20 to 25%. So we had the caucus with a lot of our contractors before we started work, and they were cautious to implement these guidelines with government because of course it will affect the efficiency of the people working in the sites. So
Okay.
easily probably 20 to 25%.
Okay, we have one controversial question here, which I want to pose to Roy. Okay, the question is, Pogos have been described as our friends. How does the cost of their building space leases offset their tax liabilities? In short, who actually is benefiting from Pogos if they're not paying taxes? Is it just the developers?
Okay, so we agree with the government that there should be more regulation of the pogo industry. Um, the pogo industry has been getting a lot of bad feedback because of all of these fly-by-night, operations in the subdivisions. Um, the the benefit of the pogo industry is the office rental. That's about 1.6 million square meters nationwide, and about 2
Okay.
million square meters of rental in the residential space.
Yeah.
Uh, that is actually quite significant, especially in the Bay Area and in the Alabang area.
Right.
Um, so right now, what we're seeing is a slow move back to operations. But because of the travel bans, then we will probably see a lot of them not still operating. Now, the question
Okay.
of taxation, yes, we should definitely tax them properly.
Yeah. Okay. Otherwise, the country doesn't benefit. It's just private developers, right?
Actually, there's can I add, Roy?
Yeah.
Because we deal with some POGOs. Actually, developers should probably lead in terms of checking the legality of these POGO operators. So for us, we remain, or we talk to different government agencies in assuming the legalities of these operators. Do they have the proper permits? Do they implement the proper work procedures for their workers? Have they been paying taxes? What's due to the government? So these are things that can be worked out. I think the word here is to strike a balance, because right now their impact in the economy is there already. So we see a lot of like, in terms of office take up. They're, I think, Roy, they're number one or number two right now, right?
They're about,
So
yeah.
yeah, it's a very profound impact on the economy. But I agree with Roy that as a nation, we need to see that we check them, we regulate them properly,
Right.
we make sure that we rid ourselves of these illegal operations. Because believe me, there's still a lot of illegal operators there, so it's hampering the whole industry. And
Right.
I think, right, the word here is probably strike that balance between economic benefits and also social
Yeah.
dispositions. So I agree with Roy that moving forward, we should have a more clear path on how we regulate them, how we check them,
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
we sustain this industry, and how they
Yeah.
contribute to the general economy of the Philippines.
And
Yeah.
contrary to common belief, actually there are about 120,000 Filipinos who are in the
Correct.
sup- yeah, who
Employed by Pogo.
are employed by Pogo.
Okay.
Um,
And
it's not all mainland Chinese.
what is the number for mainland Chinese? If there are 125,000 Filipinos.
We're estimating about 350 to 400,000.
So about a third are Filipinos.
Yes, about a third, about 30 something percent.
30%. Okay, okay. I should have done this earlier. Can we cue our Avida promo for viewers? They just need to scan the code, right? There it is. Okay. Okay, so we have another live question from Lucien Di Choco, our boss in advertising. How are developers factoring healthcare readiness into their developments? Do we see them having healthway type services within high-rise developments? Jardine, I think you answered this a little bit earlier.
Yeah, yes. Actually, we're enforcing that. Actually, for us, even before the pandemic struck, so we're actually implementing that in all of our developments. Plus, having a dedicated elevator for emergencies, just like what you have in other countries around the world. So definitely, it just fast track, or it just legitimize the need for these adjustments. But the way we
Mhm.
see it, like even before, people need to give importance to this kind of adjustments.
Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely, we are for that. We are implementing health and safety um, procedures in our developments.
Okay. So this is a wonderful question from Jemmy Lontok. And I think all of you can answer it because it would be interesting how you would from the perspective of an urban developer, a property consultant, and an urban planner, I mean, and a developer for Jardine. What would be the top three areas outside Metro Manila where you see fastest recovery for real estate in 2020? Who wants to start?
Maybe Architect Paul.
Well,
Paulo?
that would be the areas closest to Metro Manila, because Metro Manila is still the center for business and commerce. So you will see towards the south, the Cavite and Laguna would come back pretty quickly. Laguna and Batangas, and then towards
Mhm.
the north, the impetus of Clark, which is continuing its development, is going to generate a lot of, and has already generated a lot of real estate activity. So that would be the top two, north and south, for me.
Okay. Roy, maybe?
I think the top three, the first to be to recover would be Cebu. There is
Cebu.
substantial capital there. There's a lot of office space and work, and it's the secondary city of the Philippines.
Yeah.
Secondly, would be Clark. I think government pushing that area, as well as developers, big developers already moving and positioning there in a big way, will also provide substantial capital for development. And
Mm-hmm.
lastly, I'm I'm more I'm convinced that Iloilo will also develop fast. I think the local government there is doing the right job in positioning their city for development.
Okay. And Jardine?
For me, of course, the cities immediately beside Metro Manila, like Cavite, Laguna, and
Mm-hmm.
probably in the north, Clark or Bulacan, because these
Mm-hmm.
are closest to the financial center, which is Metro Manila. Also, there's a lot of infrastructure projects going on to connect these areas um, the CBDs of Metro Manila. Like for example,
Right.
for our project Garden City, we just have a LRT station 350 meters in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
So when we did the study for Garden City, we found out that most of the people working in Shaw Boulevard, Ortigas
Mm-hmm.
area, lives in the Cavite area. So with all the advent of the infrastructure projects like the highways and the LRT system, we'll see more and more connectivity between these areas. So we're quite bullish with Cavite, Laguna, and Bulacan, Bulacan area, Clark. So these are
Oh,
three or four cities.
yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Parang Roy, you mentioned Iloilo. Everybody's in Iloilo now. All the big developers are building in Iloilo. Yeah.
Yes, the BPO sector is already growing in Iloilo. Plus, the Mandurriao area has a conglomeration of master plan townships that are connected
Yeah.
to each other. So it
Yeah.
provides a very good area for growth and to support each development.
Yeah.
And I think the LGU is also doing a good job in promoting the city.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
Tanya, if I may, I didn't
Yes.
mean to do disservice to the Visayas, because it will recover faster than
Yeah.
Luzon, because they are generally less affected. So you'll find, as a general rule, those less affected portions of the country will come in back faster. And going to Iloilo, and then, in full disclosure, of course, I and my company are very much involved with the city, and in fact, even with private developers aside from the city. I just had the call I took this morning, right before the broadcast, was to Mayor Treñas, who is pushing through with a lot of urban improvements in the downtown core. And as you know, that
Mhm.
connectivity that Troy spoke about has to do with the infrastructure investment that the city, and the province, and even Senator Drilon have
Mhm.
supported in the Esplanade, and of course now
Yeah.
in alternative means of transportation for sidewalks and a bike network that's already there. So
Yeah.
Iloilo is a good place to be.
Yeah. It's beautiful, and just a boat ride away from Guimaras for the sweetest mangoes ever. Okay, we have another live question from Chingalano. I have a lot of friends who are in real estate selling. What incentives are you giving sellers post-pandemic? Jardine?
For us, we just added we consider them a frontliner now. So we added health hazard pay for them. We also provided, of course, with safety gears and stuff. So we make sure that they're able to adapt to the new normal, and
Yeah.
we plan to equip them with gadgets or computer systems that will help them adapt to having online sessions with their prospective clients. So I think most of the big developers are also doing that, and
Yeah. Yeah.
we've also adjusted their responsibility in terms of coming reporting to the office. So now they can report to the HR or to the admin quite basically remotely. So those are some of the perks that we've given our sales staff.
Okay. So another question from Reginald Yu. Is it wise to secure a bank loan to finance a real estate investment at this time when prices are still artificially depressed? In your experience, Roy, when there's a
The
crisis,
the decision for a real estate purchase is would have been made prior to the crisis. Uh, Real estate is one of the probably the biggest investment you're gonna make in your whole life.
Right, yeah.
So
mhm,
you should have thought hard and long of whether you can sustain
yeah,
any sort of payment. That
yeah,
said, getting the low interest rate, low down payment, monthly amortization purchase, I think they should go. There's nothing to stop them from purchasing now. Uh,
yeah,
the warning though is that they should be ready with their emergency fund for whatever happens if they lose their job or they have
right.
become to financial difficulty. They can keep on sustaining their monthly amortization.
Your advice is a savings of 6 months to a year, correct?
Correct.
6 months a year. Okay. Another question
Yes.
from Cap Aguila. This is interesting because Facebook and Google said they would require their employees to work from home until 2021 or even 2022, I think. So his question is, what is the medium and long-term effect on office spaces and buildings? Would rental rates drop? Because I have a friend in Ortigas and she visited her office 2 weeks ago. The building was empty. It was GCQ na, but still empty. And she says she's implementing a work from home until December.
Okay, so that's location specific, Tanya. So
Mm-hmm.
in areas like Makati and BGC or the Bay Area, even Alabang, you actually will see increased demand because of the social distancing requirement. Offices are now obligated to have only 50% capacity in their office space. So
Mm-hmm.
theoretically, if 50% is looking for seats or space, then probably 25% will go to work from home, but the remaining 25%, you will need more office space.
Yeah. Yeah.
However, Ortigas, there is a lot of supply in Ortigas area, especially this year and next year. So
Is the market glutted? Is there
no,
an oversupply?
the BPO demand is sustaining, except at a lower rate. I think what's
Okay.
happening right now worldwide is that with the economic crisis, the low-cost service providers uh, go up in priority. So we
Okay.
are seeing a growth in the BPO market,
Okay. Okay.
similar to what
So
happened in the global financial crisis of 2009.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So we
Actually,
have
yeah, can
go
I add to
ahead.
that?
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Actually, for us, we're planning a lot of small cuts offices. Like for us, it depends on the location also. But for us, our next office building would be catered to the small and medium enterprises because we're located in a semi-government center. We have the BID, PRC, and COMELEC beside us. So we see a lot of inquiries from for Aspire. We focus on the office for sale segment. So we receive a lot of inquiries, surprisingly, from law offices, specialty SMEs for slower, a lower cut, uh, maybe 80 to 100 square meter office spaces. So we're pushing through with with that concept because we feel that by 2022 or 2023, when the market conditions are far better, there will be a sustained demand for these small office spaces. Again,
Mm.
what I mentioned a while ago, with um, work from home setup is that
Mhm.
it has difficulties at this moment, like the
Lower
internet
productivity,
disruption.
actually. Yeah.
Work productivity, number one for me as a COO, is work productivity of all my employees. So right now
Right.
I'm implementing a hybrid system wherein 1 week they're assigned to work from home, and then another week in the office to plan, of course, with social distancing and all that, so that we
Yeah.
can plan this week what we're going to do remotely the following week. So it picks up the efficiency ratio. So I
Yeah.
don't think that it will be sustainable to implement a 100% work from home setup,
Yeah.
considering we still have various challenges like internet connections and all that, the layouts, disruptions and all that. So
Right.
going forward, I think smaller cut units will be in demand, at least for
You
Actually,
leasing.
were,
Tanya,
yeah.
I think you're gonna see a lot short-term demand for swing spaces or co-working spaces
Ah,
as
that's
short-term
right.
solution for the space requirement until these
Mhm.
companies can now start moving to more permanent solution.
Yeah. Jardine, you were talking about Aspire earlier. This
Yep,
is Bay Area, right?
yep,
Oh,
yeah,
I think Buds Wenceslao of Asiana, I think he told me before, some of their clients were businesses from Binondo that now wanted, parang a good office space. Kasi dati, di ba, parang informal lang yung offices nila. So do you think people will still be investing in office space given the like those in Binondo? I mean, they've made it work for decades.
yeah.
Gagastos pa ba sila for
I was part of the planning for that. I was hands-on with that development, and true enough, what we envisioned to have these legacy enterprises from
right?
Valenzuela, Ross
Mhm.
Boulevard, which has been renting for the last 20, 30 years. Remember, these companies are now controlled or either helmed by second or third generation
Heard yeah, mga apo.
business, right?
Yeah.
That they were exposed to outside studies. They know the value of having a premier office in the CBD. So they would rather invest, lock in the prices now, and have that legacy office spaces and continue that trajectory of their company. So I agree with that, and true enough, the results show that more than half of our clients that bought in Aspire are all small and medium enterprises that is looking to take it another level, no, in terms of their office spaces where they're located. So definitely that will be continuing to evolve as we go through um the advent of the economy here in the Philippines.
Okay. Okay. I think we have time for maybe one last live question. It's from Mark Conanan. And this is for you, Paolo. This has been your advocacy for the ever since I met you. Question to Mr. Alcazaran. With the effect of this pandemic in almost all aspects of life, if you are to redesign Metro Manila, what would you add and remove? What will be your design priorities? We don't. You can talk about this for 24 hours, but
No.
I know you can. Yeah.
Well, actually, the number one change would be governance, not physical. Of course, physical planning is important, but you cannot physically plan 17 LGUs who don't. They say they talk to each other, but the collaboration is wanting. And if the Metro Manila is the only metropolitan area in Asia that's still governed as individual LGUs. Metro Tokyo, Hong Kong is Singapore, Kuala Lumpur. They're all
Right.
governed essentially as one unit. Even Jakarta with the Jabotabek aggregation is governed as a region, and essentially, Metro Manila has populations greater than most provinces, but we don't govern as a province. So governance is one. Second is, of course, planning. And planning has to do with land use allocation, and that's where your housing and mixed use developments come in. If you have a unified governance and a singular regimen, then it's much easier for developers to develop, and the metro government can also control things so that our transport system fits the land use pattern. Right now, what we're doing is, because all developers are having to second guess government or second guess each other, then it's not a very collaborative environment, and our transport is always trying to catch up. We can never catch up, and of course, the number one problem is that we think that by widening roads we can improve traffic, but traffic is not the problem. Traffic is just a symptom. So it's really land use, transport, and governance that I think are the essentials for transformation in Metro Manila and all the other metro areas in the Philippines.
Yeah, but what is the thing you love about Metro Manila today? Is there
I,
anything
li-
you love about it?
I live in Metro Manila. I want to see it fixed. Oh well, you have 15 million, 20 million in NCR, and the
Right.
reality is we have to change the way we're building our city, or retrofit the wrong aspects of it, if this 20 million is to essentially survive. We have no choice, and what we have to do is really sit together and get together in things like this, to exchange ideas and find a common direction. Again, we can build our metropolis as one.
Yeah. I think the thing about Metro Manila and its population, all of us love and hate it. I mean, we can't live it, but damn, there's so many things we can improve, right?
There are
Yes.
things unique,
Yes. Go ahead.
there are things
Roy.
that are unique to us that we're not really proud of them, but we still brag about it, like traffic here. So,
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
sorry, Architect Paul, yeah.
I think everyone will agree that we could all do without traffic. And
Oh,
really,
yes.
a coordinated mass transport system cannot be affected if land use planning is not there. If you go to
Yeah.
Hong Kong, and the release of parcels for development is a rational procedure that benefits both the public as well as developers, who can then project farther into the future than our Philippine developers can, right? I mean, you cannot
Yeah.
contest that. It,
Yeah.
it really makes no sense to continue with lowest hanging fruit, to free market, because we're killing each other. For you developers, you're killing each other when something with more rational governance. So this does not, what the government is currently doing is try to push everything to private developers, to private companies, but you cannot have that. Might as well just have private companies just run the Philippines then. If that's the whole point, then we don't need to elect or all of our officials if you're just defaulting into that mode. The social
Yeah.
contract is really that the government will provide basic infrastructure, although
Yeah.
some private companies are already doing that. But we need government still, and the right type of government, to be able to provide this framework for physical planning and development. I'm sure no one can contest that.
Yeah. The good thing about a forum like this is we can talk for hours and hours and hours. But our hour has come to an end. So may I ask closing statements from you gentlemen? Shall we start with Jardine?
Yeah, I'd be glad. Yeah. So thank you again. For me, the real estate industry, right now it's battered, but it's definitely not defeated. It's challenged, but it's definitely showing a lot of resilience. That's how basically I would describe how the real estate industry is. As a whole, it was not spared with the ill effects of the COVID-19 phenomenon. but it is one of the sectors which is projected to post a strong recovery. However, that road to recovery will surely demand a lot from all of us. The road to recovery will require perseverance and cooperation, will require ingenuity, compassion, and patience. The road to recovery will challenge existing norms and guidelines like it's doing now. It will push us to be creative and understanding, just like what architect Paolo was saying a while ago. The road to recovery will spur new insights and visions towards a more resilient property sector. In the end, I personally believe that this path to recovery will create a more dynamic and responsive industry, one that we need today, and one that is geared towards nation building. For Golden Bay Land, we are inclined to participate in this rejuvenation process. We promise to deliver value for money developments as we go along, and we are emboldened to participate in nation building advocacies as we delve into the future. And we are ready for the road to recovery. Thank you very much for listening to me, what my insights are, and thank you for the fun and dynamic contributions of our co-panelists. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jardine. Roy?
Thank you, Jardine. That was a hard act to follow. Anyway, um, what I'd like to relate to the audience is we have been through financial crisis, we have been through pandemics, epidemics, you have smallpox, cholera, Spanish flu, SARS. We have Asian financial crisis, global financial crisis. In real estate, we always have to take a long-term view. Okay, all this crisis will come to pass, and I think real estate or the market is one of the more resilient and sustainable industries. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, so we'll get
This
over this. That's all.
Oh,
let's
you
get
you
over.
forgot you forgot to add we have been through a manyanita as well, and we're getting over that.
It's just a lot. Everything will go back to normal. Yeah.
Thank you, Paulo.
Well, yes, things will get to normal, but it's a new normal. And the
Yep.
biggest
Yeah.
takeaway from this crisis is we must learn from it. The saddest thing would be to after this crisis is not to learn that we need to change the way we build our cities, and
Yeah.
all of these lessons that we're now talking about has to be implemented both at the policy level through government and the actual practice to developers. And just as a last word, representing the professions of planning and landscape architecture to the Philippine Institute of Environmental Planners and the Philippine Association of Landscape Architects, and my friends in the United Architects of the Philippines and the Philippine Institute of Architects and the Philippine Institute of Interior Designers. We're all getting together in this period of transition back to the new to what will be a new normal to think about how we can help our publics, our clients, and the government in finding this right and correct way of future building. Thank you.
Thank you, Paulo. Just from your closing statements, I have like 10 more questions. And I have friends texting me questions, but we don't have any more time. So, to read more about the recent developments in the world of real estate, grab a copy of Property Report in Philippine Star tomorrow, Friday. So, thank you, everyone, and see you in the next webinar. Bye.